Will I ever sign? Unless they want to pay me blood money.
All this blood.
Yo, what up, what's good? It's your boy YCEE. I'm Allstars, #1 in school, Jagaban. Ain't nobody but a Dan. And we live. Well, I think the only reason behind the length it took was because the album was ready. I think the album was ready last year, but due to the process of me leaving my previous employers, I had to take some time off from releasing music and properly deal with that situation. And when everything was wrapped up, the next thing on my itinerary was putting out my debut album, and that's how we got to this point. I think first of all, the idea for the two of us to collaborate was, from the label, because you have a label that has all these artists, so 90% of the time we're in the studio. If we're not working on individual projects, we're working on collabos. And I think for myself and Bella, we're both at a point where in our personal lives we're going through, this relationship. I don't know about Bella, but I know about myself personally. I just got out from a lengthy relationship, and I think the only thing that kept me from, being that guy that's texting their ex like, oh, I miss you, let's work it out. I just channeled all that energy in the studio. So around that time, we're working on LMV, and I think for me personally, that's the only project that I've been able to just infuse, my real life experience into it. And yeah, so even if I listen to it less these days, because anytime I listen to it, I'm thinking about that, period of my life. But I mean, the end product was no one expected it, because it wasn't like we were told to work in this direction. Everything just met up, and big shout out to Bella. I think that's, at the time, that was Bella at her best, and she's even evolved more now. So big shout out to her. Yeah, very heartbroken. Very heartbroken.
Are you cordial with the lady now?
No, we don't. I don't know. We don't talk. We don't see. We don't run into each other. It's like the universe just said, okay, you know what? Apart. Yeah, I think the funny thing is we worked on a bunch of songs. I think we had 11, 12, 13 songs to pick from, and seeing as it was our first collaborative project, the label's first collaborative project, we didn't want to make it too lengthy, because attention span of the average listener these days is very, very low. So I think keeping it at 6 tracks, and the tracks we selected, it was able to just tie into the narrative of breakup and reconciliation at the end of the day. So I think Late Night Vibration was okay with that, because if it had been more, then it would have begun to drag. So for me personally, I think 6 was very okay. Nah, not at all. I think first wave for me was partly because of how successful Juice became. A lot of people didn't get to check out the other songs on the project. Some people didn't even know that Juice was from a project. And the first wave had solid collabos, the song with Shay, song with Fouls, Calibra, and I feel even on our side of the table, it was under promoted, because I sensed, I won't say I sensed, but I felt there was this feeling that, oh, Juice is such a big record, let's milk Juice as much as we can, as opposed to okay, Juice is big already, let's channel some of that attention into the other songs. So personally for me, I feel the first wave was a good body of work, and the other solid singles on there that were underutilized. And if I could do anything differently, I would definitely have promoted more than just Juice and say Donny Bay, for example. Traditionally, I started as a rapper. I was heavily influenced by Lil Wayne. Coming off the Card 3 album, that was my template for becoming an artist. I was just man, I wanted to be like Lil Wayne. I just his swag, his persona. At the time, he was the hottest MC on the scene. And in the earlier stages of my career, like I used to sound a lot like Lil Wayne, and I think transitioning from an upcoming artist and having better understanding of the business, I knew the importance of growing my own brand. So, from switching from sound like Lil Wayne to sounding a lot more Nigerian and then trying to be a lot more commercial, my talent I think it took like a 180 because I went from like rapping to singing to rapping to completely singing and back to now it's like 50-50 rap sing. Sometimes, because at the end of the day, coming off commercially successful records like Jagaban, Omo Alaji, Link Up, I think.
But Jagaban was a rap record.
Yeah, a lot of people say that, but personally for me, I feel like Jagaban was a very, very watered down commercial record. Actually. Because for me, when I want to rap, it's either I'm rapping or I'm not rapping. So if I have to water it down to like, saying stuff like, try to feed me beef, I told them wait for Ramadan. That's like, So I mean, personally, like when people used to take jabs at me like, oh, you went from Jagaban to Omo Alaji, and I'm like, there's not that much difference. It's just Jagaban's beat is like the energy is a lot harder. Yeah. But personally for me, I would say Jagaban is like a pop record. So like when you have songs that are that successful, like it would be very, very hard. Until this day, it is still very hard to get to convince me to rap because, I know the climate of the industry, and we all understand like, in as much as you are rapping, you need to have one or two of these commercial singles that will bring the money in to even promote the rap songs. So, I mean, just being in a label and understanding that they've invested such amount and everything you do has to be centered to bringing profit back in. So unconsciously, it was always there in the back of my mind. Like even if I do one rap song, back of my mind is like I have to do 2 jams to supplement that. So I think with growing and evolving, as an all-round artist and seeing that the industry is now changing to a point where people are beginning to like, not a lot of people, but there's a considerable amount that will appreciate you when you do music that is substantial and not as much focused on making commercial returns. So yeah. As far as my contract being breached, I think mentally.
When you say a contract being breached, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean my contract was breached. Like I made public notice a couple months back. That I didn't get a single dime from my streams, which is in this day and age, that is like, aside shows an endorsement, that's like the next substantial source of income. And coming off a record like Juice that till this day is still amassing numbers, it was a really big deal. And a bunch of other discrepancies as when it comes to like clarity and transparency on expenses and a lot of that stuff. So that in turn was beginning to affect my input in the studio and my mental space. And for me personally, like a creative, not just me personally, like all creatives, your mental space is your office, and when it's not in a good functioning state, nothing else is working. So I just found myself in a position where what I was even doing in the studio, I wasn't proud of that. It was just, everything wasn't going wrong. So I got to a point where I was like, man, I don't even want to do music again.
That was when?
I think July 2018. I was like, just because I was in the States at the time with my grandma, my aunties, and I was just like, I'll just shave my dreads and just start a new life, shave my facial hair, probably start wearing clear glasses, get a job, just like I was this close. But at some point, one of my friends invited me to New York. It was like, what are you doing in Maryland? Like, there's no activity, come to New York. And I think while I was in New York, I now sort of remember that you can't just like, you've not put out an album like, and you want to retire. So yeah. The first song I recorded was My Side.
Yeah. Oh, on the album?
No, it's not on the album, but it was like the first single I released when I started off the AMBT company. And it was like, because that was the first song when I was like, okay, let's get back to work. And I actually recorded it and I just kept it. And then I came back home, and I remember that day I was in the car with my brother and a couple of my guys, and that was the first time I played it for anybody aside the people that were there when we made it. And they were like, what song is this? I was like, I just one song, but I just do. They say, it's a jam. I was like, okay, So I finished it up because it wasn't finished. So I finished it up, mixed it, shot the video, put it out, and I mean, it's funny, I think one thing about my music that tends to surprise me sometimes is when I put it out, the fans obviously listen to it, then the rest of the listeners now catch on much later, and they're like, this song, I just heard it now, and it came out last year, wow, I didn't know. So yeah, my side is like, I think for me personally, it's like, it just marks the start of like a new era, new energy, so yeah. Bro, it's not easy. Even I think, man, doing business anywhere in the world, especially music, entertainment business as a whole, it's not easy because like constant funding is required, to in an industry that is extremely competitive, where you have like a lot of people say, artists plenty pass fans, because there's so many people working,
the competition.
There's like, everybody has their own different strategy, and everything is not financial intensive, in the sense that the newest strategy on the block is giveaways. So that just shows how financially intensive it is. I think for me, that's been,
What's your take on the giveaway before we go ahead?
Well, I mean, I understand the need, or I won't say the need, but I understand like the intention behind it when it's genuine, because I feel like these days a lot of people understand like the country's not easy. Anywhere you go as a public figure, as I said, once you are known on TV, anywhere you go and people recognize you, they immediately just expect that you will show them love and all that stuff. So I understand it's not easy for like the layman, because sometimes I even think to myself that if I was not doing music, it would, I don't know what I'd be doing. So it's like, a lot of us understand, the need, like, a lot of people are like, once in a while I actually give out money to people on social media, but I don't like to make it like a public thing, because I don't want people camping in my mentions because of that, but I mean, there are ways like there are formulas, there are ways that if I want to be doing giveaway every day, I can be doing it, but it's, we know the scope.
What is the scope?
Damn, man. It's not for my mouth to hear.
Okay, please continue what you're saying, sorry.
So yeah, like, making that transition from artist to executive now is like, it's a lot more serious for me, because I'm responsible for myself. It's a different case where you're signed to a label and you have to, your own end of the bargain is create content, focus on your brand, be an all-round artist, and you have somebody to blame, because you can say, oh, I've recorded these songs and I've given you guys, but you guys didn't do your job. But now I'm recording the songs, and it is up to me to promote the song, so there's no room to blame anybody. It's up to me. So even if there's somebody that didn't do their job, no one outside cares, because I mean, at the end of the day, who's the CEO? You're the CEO. So a lot of people. I have a team that works in Lagos. I have a team that works in the UK. Okay. So it's like, that's another thing for me, because a lot of people hear CEO and they feel like every decision is final for me, but this is my first job, so to speak. So I have a lot of people in my ear that help to guide, because at the end of the day, if I make the songs, I'm not the one that will decide the songs, because it's not about me, it's about what the consumers want to hear. So I always take a lot of outside advice and decisions. So yeah. No.
Not for now, ever.
Never. I think, because I feel like the rest of the world, the label artist relationship has sort of evolved, and in places like Europe and the US, they've seen and understood that there are a lot more tools available to like the independent artists to be successful. So for you to come in and work with this artist, you have to adjust. So currently in Nigeria, I feel like there's only a few labels that currently have that like template that they work with, say YBNL, Mavens, and DMW. For me, coming out of a relationship with a label, like I've seen both sides. Like I understand, on the side of the artist, this is what the artist wants, and on the side of the label, they feel like we've put in this amount, this, that. But for me, I think the only thing I will work with artists in the future, but in a capacity that nobody's going to feel cheated. I would rather work with somebody that's already like making moves for themselves and okay, what do you want? How can we supplement you? And possibly I'm not signing any 360 deals. It's not going to be like I just got signed, this is my contract. No, it's like, okay, this is what you want to do, this is how we're going to come in, and stuff like that.
And there were holes in it?
No, not particularly. I think like this is one of the reasons why personally when I left the label, I was very quiet about it. Like there was no information up until the point where I came out to speak, because I didn't want it to be another situation, because once people hear it, first thing that comes to mind is, oh, all these artists and labels don't come again. Artists don't read what they sign, they don't have entertainment lawyers and all that. But I feel like in my case it was less about the quality of the deal, but like the label actually fulfilling certain obligations. So people need to understand that you can sign the best contract on paper, but if what they said they would do, they won't do, that contract is as good as signing a shitty contract. So partly emotional, partly because like the way I saw it, like from my perspective, you see somebody celebrating 100 million streams, and it's like, first things first, it left a bad taste in my mouth, because like, shing bang, enter my pocket. And secondly, other people are gonna see that and they'll be like, what if I sign with these guys and maybe me too, I can make my own 100 million streams. But nobody knew, like nobody had any knowledge that this is what was going on. And I think initially I thought out of mutual respect, both parties would be respectful about the whole situation, because
Shortly, are you in court?
I can't speak on that now.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So I expected mutual respect from both sides, because I could have easily been very, very messy when I left and used that as PR to boost myself back, but I kept it calm. But seeing that, I was just like, I didn't want anybody else to fall victim. And a lot of people were seeing that and thinking, oh, YCEE must be in a very, very good place, and all that with these 100 million streams. So I just want people to understand that those 100 million streams, which a large percentage of, I can boldly say, was from my music, I really didn't get nothing from it. And it felt like a slap in the face, because for you to be celebrating that milestone, at least, not even like I'm chasing for the mention, but like there were artists that worked for these streams. It's not a situation where the label just took the money and went to Spotify and uploaded Naira bills or dollar bills to get those plays. So it just didn't sit well with me. Yeah, they are my songs.
Okay.
They are, because.
But did you record them while you were signed?
Yeah, I recorded them while they were signed, but the label at the time did not cover cost of production. Yeah.
So there were times bridged.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bossing was made in the UK, and the producers, because when it happened, like the producers actually said like they've never had any liaison or conversation with the label before. So
I think you even said it was meant to be a Miss Banks song.
Yeah, it was meant to be a Miss Banks feature, and then the way the session turned out, ended up being my song. The bassline song, like even up until the time of my termination of contract, the bassline record was not like, there was no agreement reached, because the initial creation of that song was an Ade song featuring myself and Bodge.
Okay.
So it was when Davido took interest in the song, then Ade was like, okay, YCEE, you're my guy.
Ade the producer.
Yeah, Ade the producer. YCEE, you're my guy. I can tweak it to accommodate another verse from you and a Davido record. And after that session, he had a conversation. He was like, okay, so, he had a conversation with the label, and he's like, okay, I've taken my song and given it to your artist, so how will I get compensated? And I think the label wasn't really trying to compensate him, which in all fairness is like, what he was asking for is pretty logical in this day and age, So I then went back to him and fulfilled, his conditions. And I think, because knowing all these things, and then you see someone still going ahead to, leak and then still try to make claims to this music, it's like, what's your end game, So will I ever sign? Unless they want to pay me blood money.
What is blood money? Define blood money.
Blood money, man. Shitload
$30 billion.
Or maybe they want to pay me footballer money, like, you know, all those Chinese transfer fees.
Ever played football?
If they want me to switch to football, if they want me to infuse football in the music, gladly. Should I've already sang Mosala? Yeah. That's it, man.